Michael had always been skeptical about supernatural stories. Ghosts, demons, haunted houses, it was all nonsense to him. But that changed the night he moved into his new apartment. The place was small but modern, with a single large mirror in the hallway that stretched from floor to ceiling. It was the only thing the previous owner had left behind. The mirror gave the illusion of a bigger space, so Michael decided to keep it. The first night was uneventful, except for the creaking of the old wooden floors. He dismissed it as the building settling, but on the second night, something felt off. As he passed the mirror on his way to bed, he noticed something strange. His reflection was just a split second behind him. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make him stop. He waved his hand. The reflection waved back instantly, probably just his imagination. By the third night, he started to get paranoid. He stared at the mirror for a long time, searching for anything unusual, but everything seemed normal. Then, just as he turned away, he caught it, his reflection smiling. Michael's heart pounded. He hadn't smiled. His face had remained neutral. He slowly turned back, expecting to see nothing out of the ordinary. His reflection still had that grin. Michael took a step back. The reflection stood still, staring at him. Slowly, he reached for his phone to take a picture. The moment he lifted it, his reflection blinked. But he hadn't. That was enough. He grabbed a bedsheet and threw it over the mirror. He'd deal with it in the morning. But that night, he barely slept. The air in the apartment felt heavy, as if someone was watching him. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined that grin behind the sheet, waiting. At 3:14 a.m., he woke up suddenly. His body was cold, his breath shaky. He wasn't sure why he woke up, until he heard it. A faint rustling. The sheet was moving. His pulse pounded in his ears. He wanted to stay in bed and pretend he hadn't noticed, but his curiosity was stronger. Slowly, he sat up and turned on the bedside lamp. The sheet was shifting, as if something was pressing against it from the inside. Then it stopped. Silence. Michael held his breath. His hand trembled as he reached for the sheet. With one quick motion, he yanked it down. The mirror was empty, just his reflection, looking terrified. He let out a shaky laugh, feeling ridiculous. "I'm losing it," he muttered. Then his reflection blinked and stepped forward. Michael's breath caught in his throat. His reflection wasn't copying him anymore. It was moving on its own. A second later, it pressed against the glass, hands flattening as if trying to push through. Its grin widened, stretching beyond what should be humanly possible. Michael stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp. His reflection tilted its head, eyes locking onto his with something hungry. Then, in a whispering voice that sounded just like his own, it spoke. "Let me out." Michael ran. He didn't stop to grab his keys, his phone, nothing. He bolted out of the apartment, slamming the door behind him. He didn't care how much money he'd lose breaking the lease. He was never stepping foot in that place again. The next day, the landlord called. Michael hesitated before answering, his hands still shaking. "You left in a hurry," the landlord said. "Is everything all right?" Michael considered telling the truth. But who would believe him? Before he could answer, the landlord sighed. "Look, if it's about the mirror, you should have just told me. The last tenant left it behind. Said there was something wrong with it. We meant to get rid of it. But, well, I guess now we have." Michael's blood ran cold. He didn't respond. He just hung up, blocked the landlord's number, and prayed that whatever was in that mirror never found its way out.